Okay, so we've just discussed setting the value for all these tools. Okay, right now the value of all them tools is, let's say, minus whatever, right? Just say minus 200 for example, right? That minus 200 is from the 0 point. When we home the machine, the head goes up to find its reference point. There's a sensor there that'll find its absolute zero, right? That minus 200, for example, is 200 down until it touches that tool setter. So there's an offset built into the machine. So minus 200 means that that tool is 200 away from the 0 point. And it'll do that for every one of the tools, okay? Now, to get the tools to work at the level of the spoil board that we have, we need to put in another offset, okay? So this is the worktable offsets. Now I'm going to show the user manual. Tool to worktable calibrations, X, Y and Z. Okay, so I'll go through Z first. Okay, so you have to do a Z calibration on top of a new spoil board. Right, anytime you change the spoil board and put a new one on, you need to set the Z position on the top of the board. Otherwise, the old spoil board that you had on it has obviously skimmed off a good few times. It could have been maybe, let's say, 8mm thick, and you change it, and now you have something that's 16mm after you skim it. You need to obviously bring the table up, or bring the offset up, so it knows where the new spoil board is. Okay, so to do this, we have to do a tool tip measure on any tool at all. I recommend doing it on the cutting out tool, because this is the one that's actually going to be cutting through. We'll get it fairly bang on. So again, just offset setting, tool tip measure, run a tool tip measure on any tool. Now I'm going to say the cutting out tool. Okay, I've showed how to do that in the last video, so no need to do that now. Okay, so the next thing, we now need to move the same tool down just to touch the spoil board. Okay, and we can use MPG, which is the manual wheel, which allows us to do very fine movement to move down the wheel. Once that tool is touching the top of the new spoil board, we press a button called Z Delta Set. Now I'll explain that here. Okay, so tool, you press F1 to bring up the hood, right, so you can see the tool. We just actually done the tool height test on tool number 1, which is the cutting out tool. So I can use jog to actually kind of move it roughly near enough where I want it to be. I'll keep it a good bit away before I stop. Okay, and now what I'll do is this MPG. If I press that, now I can use this controller to move the machine in any direction. So it's off now. I can move it in the X, I can move it in the Y, I can move it in the Z, and that's where I want to move it. And then you have a little control for the resolution of how much one turn here moves it. Well, at the start, when we were there, like maybe 60mm away, we'll set it to 1000, and you'll get it to move down fairly quick. But then when we get really close, we go to by 10, and that's really fine movement. Now, one thing to always remember when you're setting up the Z on a new spoil board, turn on the vacuum pump, because the vacuum pump, when on, will actually suck the spoil board down to very close to where it will be when there's a sheet on. If you do the Z calibration without the pump on, the tooling is actually all going to be just a little bit too high because the spoil board is up. Okay, this button here overrides the pump. We'll turn it on. You can hear it on there now. The sheet's sucked down. We're going to grab this controller. I'm going to go over to the machine. Stick that there. Now, set to Z and set to 1000. And then if I start turning the wheel, you can see the tool going down. And you can always see a shadow on one side. And as you see the shadow approaching the tool, you know you're very close. Okay. And now we're close now, maybe about a mil away. I'm going to change it to by 10, which turns down the resolution of the wheel. I'm going to zoom in on that actually. Now, you can see it getting closer very slowly. And what you want to do is you want to, still off it, you want to have the tool taking the smallest little shaving off the board. Let's go down another little bit. Another small bit. Another tiny bit. There it is. You can see it doing a little Yeah, so I'm actually going to just bring it up a click there now. Yeah, okay, I've gone up 2 clicks. So now that we're satisfied with that, I'm going to go back over to the machine, right? So I'm going to go back to the very start, right? Always left is back, back. Into offset setting, in tooltip measure, right? There's one button to press now, right? Z delta set. And what that does, in a nutshell, is it measures the difference in height from the tool changer to the top of the spoilboard, as you can see. Okay, now I've already set it, so I'm not going to press the button again. Alright, but let's just say I press it. Okay, if I just go back 1 page and I look here under G54, it's the only one the machine uses, Z is 13.8, and that is near enough 14 mil there. Okay, and now the machine knows its length for all the tools, and it also knows the offset between the tool height setter and the spoilboard. So every time a program starts, at the top of every program is a line of code that says G54, and that tells the machine to look into G54 and use the offset in there, so it'll know the Z height from there. One of the next lines of code that comes up in a program is which tool. So let's say it picks tool 1, and then the machine also knows that tool 1 has this here, so it uses the length of the tool plus the offset in Z relative to the machine coordinates to get the exact Z height on the spoilboard for every tool. So I think that's it there now.